Rain pounded the tin roof of Eli's Diner, a weathered outpost off Highway 101 in coastal Oregon. The grill hissed, spitting grease as Eli, 35, flipped a burger with a practiced flick of his wrist. His hands moved steady, but his chest ached, heavy with the weight of a crumpled note in his pocket. "I'm done, Eli. Seattle's calling." Mark. 10 years of shared mornings, late-night recipes, and whispered promises, gone in a single sentence. Eli pressed the spatula harder, the sizzle drowning out the storm. The door swung open, letting in a gust of damp air. A young man, Jamie, 24, stepped inside, rain dripping from his backpack onto the linoleum. His eyes scanned the empty counter, sharp and cautious, like someone used to watching his own shadow. "You hiring?" he asked, voice low but firm, cutting through the grill's crackle. Eli glanced up, measuring him. "You cook?" "Enough to get by," Jamie said, stepping closer. "I learned fast." Something in his tone, grit wrapped in quiet, tugged at Eli. He'd heard that kind of resolve before, in his own voice, years ago, when he'd left his old life behind. "What's your name?" Eli asked, wiping his hands on a towel. "Jamie. Show up tomorrow, 7 a.m. Don't be late." Eli tossed him an apron from the rack. Jamie caught it, fingers quick, and nodded before stepping back into the rain. The next morning, the storm hadn't let up. Eli arrived early, unlocking the diner as dawn barely broke through the clouds. He lit the stove, the flame catching with a soft whoosh, and started chopping onions, the knife's rhythm steadying his thoughts. Mark's absence lingered like a burn, sharp and raw. The door creaked, and Jamie walked in, damp but punctual, his backpack slung over one shoulder. "Put that away," Eli said, pointing to a corner. "Wash your hands. Sink's there." Jamie obeyed, scrubbing under the tap with a focus that bordered on reverence. Eli watched from the corner of his eye, noting the careful way Jamie dried his hands, like someone proving a point. "You've worked a kitchen before?" Eli asked, slicing carrots now, their orange flecks hitting the board. "Diner back in Tillamook," Jamie said. "Small place. Nothing like this." Eli snorted. "This is a small place." Jamie's lips twitched, a half-smile. "Not to me." Eli handed him a knife, handle first. Onions, half-moons, even cuts. Jamie took it, his grip too tight, the first slice landing heavy, uneven. Eli winced. "Loosen up. You're not fighting the onion. Guide it." Jamie adjusted, his next cut cleaner. Eli nodded, returning to his carrots. The kitchen filled with the soft scrape of blades and the patter of rain outside. Jamie worked quietly, but his presence was loud, a steady pulse in the room's stillness. "Why here?" Eli asked after a while, breaking the silence. "Middle of nowhere." Jamie's knife paused. "Needed a fresh start. My family, they didn't take it well. Me being me." His voice stayed even, but his shoulders tightened. "I'm gay. They wanted me fixed. I left instead." Eli's grip on the knife faltered, just for a second. He'd kept his own truth buried, locked away in this town where secrets were safer than honesty. Mark had insisted on it. "Keep it quiet, Eli, for the business." Now, Jamie's words cracked something open. "You're safe here," Eli said, the promise slipping out before he could stop it. "Long as you show up and work." Jamie nodded, eyes meeting Eli's briefly, a flicker of gratitude passing between them. The stove hissed as Eli set a pot of stock to simmer, the scent of bones and bay leaves curling into the air. They worked in tandem, the rhythm building, until a customer walked in, a regular, Tom, his boots heavy on the floor. "New guy?" Tom asked, squinting at Jamie. "You look familiar. Tillamook kid, right? The one they ran out?" Jamie froze, his knife hovering over the cutting board. Eli's jaw tightened. "He's my cook," he said, stepping forward, voice low and sharp. "You got a problem, Tom?" Tom raised his hands, backing off. "Just asking." He paid and left, but the air felt heavier, the rain louder. Jamie resumed cutting, slower now, his hands steady but his eyes distant. "You okay?" Eli asked, keeping his tone flat. "Yeah," Jamie said, not looking up. "Thanks for that. Don't thank me. Just keep up." Eli turned back to the stove, stirring the stock, but his thoughts churned. Tom's words would spread. Small towns carried whispers like wind. Eli had spent years hiding who he was, keeping the diner's reputation clean. Now, Jamie's presence threatened to pull that truth into the open, and Eli wasn't sure if he was ready, or if he ever would be. As the lunch rush began, plates clattered, orders barked across the pass. Jamie moved fast, learning Eli's pace, flipping burgers while Eli plated. Their hands brushed once, reaching for the same spatula, and Eli pulled back, heart thudding. Jamie didn't react, just kept working, but the moment lingered, sharp as a fresh cut. By closing, the diner was empty again, rain still drumming outside. Jamie stayed, wiping down the grill. "You don't have to," Eli said, locking the cash register. "I know," Jamie replied, scrubbing harder. "Feels wrong leaving it like this." Eli leaned against the counter, watching him. "You don't owe me anything." Jamie stopped, meeting his gaze. "I'm not here for debts. I'm here to learn." Eli nodded, unsure why those words felt heavier than they should. He turned off the stove, the flame dying with a soft pop. The stock simmered low, its warmth filling the space between them. Outside, the storm raged on, but inside, something quieter was beginning to take shape. The diner hummed with the clatter of plates and the low buzz of morning customers. Eli, 35, moved with precision, searing bacon on the grill, its sharp sizzle cutting through the chatter. Jamie, 24, worked beside him, chopping peppers with growing confidence, his knife flashing in quick, even strokes. The air carried the tang of coffee and grease, but beneath it lingered the unresolved tension from Tom's words yesterday. Eli felt it like a pulse, steady but insistent, as he glanced at Jamie's focused hands. "Faster on the prep," Eli said, sliding a tray of buns into the oven. "Lunch rush waits for no one." Jamie nodded, his cuts speeding up without losing rhythm. "Got it, boss." His voice held a quiet steadiness, but Eli caught the flicker of unease in his posture, as if he expected another confrontation. The door chimed, and more regulars filed in, their voices filling the small space. Eli called out orders, his tone sharp but calm, guiding Jamie through the chaos. "2 burgers, 1 rare, 1 well. Don't overcook." Jamie flipped patties, grease popping, his movements smoother than yesterday. Eli watched, noting the way he anticipated the next step, learning the diner's cadence. During a lull, Jamie leaned against the counter, wiping sweat from his brow. "You ever get tired of this pace?" he asked, voice low enough to stay between them. Eli shrugged, flipping a pancake. "Tired's not the problem. Quitting is." He didn't look up, but the weight of his words settled in the air. Jamie didn't push, just returned to slicing tomatoes, the knife's soft scrape a steady counterpoint to the grill's hiss. The phone rang, jarring Eli. He grabbed it, expecting a supplier. Instead, Mark's voice crackled through, smooth and familiar, like a song Eli had tried to forget. "I messed up, Eli. Seattle's not what I thought. Can we talk?" Eli's grip tightened, his knuckles paling. Jamie glanced over, his knife pausing mid-cut. Eli turned away, lowering his voice. "You left, Mark. That's the end of it." He hung up, the click echoing in his chest. Jamie resumed chopping, but his silence felt heavier, as if he'd heard more than he should. "Everything okay?" Jamie asked, not looking up. "Focus on the tomatoes," Eli said, sharper than intended. He stirred a pot of chili, the steam rising in thin curls, its heat a distraction from the ache Mark's call had reopened. The lunch rush hit hard, orders piling up like driftwood. Eli and Jamie moved in sync, passing plates, their hands brushing once as they reached for the same jar of spices. Eli froze for a split second, the contact sparking something he didn't want to name. Jamie didn't react, just kept plating, but Eli felt the moment linger, sharp and uninvited. As the crowd thinned, Tom returned, leaning against the counter with a smirk. "Heard your new guy's got a past," he said, loud enough for nearby customers to turn. "Tillamook folks say he caused trouble. You sure about him, Eli?" Eli stepped forward, wiping his hands on a towel. "I'm sure he's my cook. You got something else to say?" His voice was low, a warning wrapped in calm. Tom hesitated, then paid and left, but the whispers spread, heads turning toward Jamie. Eli saw the younger man's shoulders stiffen, his knife moving slower now, deliberate. "Keep going," Eli said, softer this time. "They'll talk. Let them." Jamie nodded, but his eyes stayed on the cutting board. "They always do," he murmured. The words carried a weight Eli recognized. Years of hiding, of carrying truth like a secret wound. That night, after closing, Jamie stayed to scrub the grill, the diner quiet except for the faint drip of a faucet. Eli locked the front door, then leaned against the counter, watching. "You don't have to stay late," he said. "Work's done." Jamie kept scrubbing, his movements steady. "Feels better keeping busy. Keeps the noise out." He paused, then added, "Back home, I loved someone." He wouldn't admit it, not even to himself. Said it was easier to stay quiet. Eli's chest tightened. He'd lived that story, with Mark, always hiding, always compromising. Quiet doesn't fix anything, he said, surprising himself. Just buries it. Jamie looked up, eyes searching. What did you bury, Eli? The question cut deeper than Eli expected. He turned to the stove, checking the chili though it didn't need checking. Someone I trusted, he said finally. He wanted a life I couldn't give. Left me to pick up the pieces. Jamie set the sponge down. Sounds like he didn't deserve you. Eli's laugh was short, bitter. Deserves got nothing to do with it. He stirred the pot, the rich scent of smoked peppers filling the air. Jamie stepped closer, watching the steam rise. Teach me that, Jamie said, pointing to the chili. I want to get it right. Eli handed him a spoon. Taste first. Tell me what's missing. Jamie took a sip, thoughtful, then shook his head. Needs heat. Not too much, just enough to wake it up. Eli nodded, impressed. Good. Add a pinch of cayenne. Jamie obeyed, stirring carefully, the pot's gentle simmer a quiet anchor between them. The door rattled, startling them both. Mark stood outside, rain-soaked, his eyes pleading through the glass. Eli, please. I was wrong. His voice carried, desperate, drawing Jamie's gaze. Eli's heart thudded, torn between memory and the present. Jamie stepped back, his expression unreadable, and slipped into the back room without a word. Eli faced Mark, the glass between them a fragile barrier. You made your choice, he said, voice steady but cold. Go back to it. Mark lingered, then turned away, disappearing into the storm. Eli exhaled, the weight of the moment settling like ash. He found Jamie in the back, wiping down shelves that were already clean. You didn't have to leave, Eli said. Didn't want to get in the way, Jamie replied, not meeting his eyes. You're not, Eli said, the words carrying more truth than he meant to admit. He handed Jamie a cloth, their fingers brushing briefly, a spark that neither acknowledged. Finish up. We've got tomorrow. Jamie nodded, resuming his work, but the silence between them felt different now. Charged, alive, like the heat under a pot just before it boils. The diner thrummed with the midday rush. Orders shouted over the clatter of forks and the hiss of frying eggs. Eli, 35, plated hash browns with a flick of his wrist, his focus razor-sharp despite the ache Mark's visit last night had left behind. Jamie, 24, worked beside him, grilling sausages, his movements quicker now, syncing with the kitchen's relentless pace. The air smelled of butter and charred meat, thick with the heat of a packed service. 3 specials, 1 no onions. Eli called, sliding plates across the pass. Jamie nodded, flipping a patty without looking up, his concentration a quiet force. Eli noticed the way he anticipated orders, moving before being told, like a dancer learning the steps. Their elbows brushed as they reached for a shared cutting board, the contact brief but electric. Eli's pulse quickened, and he turned away, focusing on the sizzling bacon. Keep up, Eli said, voice clipped to hide the jolt. Jamie just smirked, tossing diced peppers into a pan, the oil popping in response. The crowd thickened, voices overlapping, plates stacking high. A customer waved for coffee, another complained about cold fries. Eli and Jamie wove through the chaos, their rhythm tight, seamless. During a rare pause, Jamie leaned close, passing a spatula. You make this look easy, he said, breath warm against the din. It's not, Eli replied, cracking eggs onto the griddle. You're just catching on. Jamie's laugh was soft, almost lost in the noise. Maybe I'm stealing your tricks. Eli's eyes flicked to him, a half-smile tugging at his lips. Steal better ones. The moment broke as the door chimed. Mark stepped in, his presence like a cold draft. Customers glanced up, sensing the shift. Eli's hands stilled on the tongs, his jaw tightening. Jamie noticed, his knife slowing over a block of cheddar. Mark approached the counter, voice low but carrying. I need to talk, Eli. I can't stop thinking about us. Eli wiped his hands, stepping forward. There's no us. You walked away. His tone was flat, but his chest felt like it was caving in. Jamie kept slicing, but his shoulders tensed, as if bracing for a blow. Mark leaned closer, undeterred. I was scared, okay? I thought Seattle would fix me. It didn't. You're what I need. His words hung, heavy with regret, drawing stares from nearby tables. Eli's fingers gripped the counter. Memories of late nights, shared recipes, and Mark's laughter flashed through him, each one a cut. But then he saw Jamie, head down, slicing with deliberate care, and something steadied inside him. You don't get to come back and rewrite the story, Eli said. Go. Mark's face fell, but he didn't move. "You'll regret this," he muttered, then turned and left, the door slamming behind him. The diner buzzed with whispers, customers exchanging glances. Eli exhaled, turning back to the grill, but the heat felt sharper now, unforgiving. Jamie set down his knife, voice quiet. "You didn't have to do that for me." "I didn't," Eli said, flipping a burger too hard, grease spitting. "I did it for me." Jamie nodded, returning to his prep, but the air between them crackled, charged with something neither named. They worked through the rush, plates flying, orders barked, the kitchen a storm of motion. When the last customer left, the diner fell quiet, the only sound the low hum of the fridge and the faint bubble of chili on the stove. Jamie stayed, scrubbing pans, his hands steady despite the day's weight. Eli locked the register, then leaned against the counter, watching. "You're getting good at this," he said, nodding at the gleaming sink. "Had a good teacher," Jamie replied, drying his hands. He stepped closer, stirring the chili, its smoky warmth rising. "Why'd you stay quiet all those years? About who you are?" Eli hesitated, the question slicing through his defenses. He grabbed a ladle, checking the pot to avoid Jamie's gaze. "This town doesn't take kindly to truth like mine. Mark wanted it hidden. Said it was safer." "Safer's not the same as living," Jamie said, his voice soft but firm. "I tried hiding. It only broke me faster." Eli looked at him, the words landing like a spark. Jamie's eyes held no judgment, only understanding, and it unnerved Eli how easily he saw through him. "Hiding kept this place open," Eli said. "You'll learn that." "Maybe I don't want to," Jamie countered, setting the ladle down. "Maybe I want to be seen." The stove's flame flickered, casting shadows across the counter. Eli's throat tightened. He wanted to argue, to say Jamie was naive, but the truth in his words burned hotter than the chili's steam. "Being seen costs," Eli said finally. "You ready for that?" Jamie didn't answer, just stirred the pot again, his silence a challenge. The door rattled, breaking the moment. A delivery driver dropped off a crate of vegetables, oblivious to the tension. Eli signed for it, grateful for the distraction, but when the driver left, Jamie was still there, watching him. "Taste this," Eli said, handing him a spoon, needing to shift the focus. Jamie took a sip, his expression thoughtful. "Needs acid," he said. "Lemon, maybe." Eli nodded, impressed again. "Add it." Slowly. Jamie squeezed a wedge, the sharp citrus cutting through the chili's depth. They stood close, the pot between them, its heat a quiet tether. "You didn't owe him anything," Jamie said after a moment, his voice barely above the simmer. "Not after what he did." Eli's hand paused over the stove. "I owed myself better," he said, the admission raw, unexpected. Jamie's gaze met his, steady and unguarded, and for a moment, the kitchen felt too small, the air too warm. They cleaned in silence, the rhythm of their work a fragile bridge. As Jamie wiped the last pan, Eli turned off the burner, the flame's absence leaving a sudden stillness. "Go home," he said, softer than he meant. Jamie slung his backpack over his shoulder. "See you tomorrow, boss." He stepped into the rain, leaving Eli alone with the cooling pot and a truth he wasn't ready to face. The diner buzzed with early evening chatter, the air thick with the scent of frying onions and brewing coffee. Eli, 35, worked the grill, flipping chicken breasts with a steady hand, his focus a shield against the whispers rippling through the small town. Jamie, 24, stood at the prep station, dicing zucchini with precise cuts, his confidence growing under Eli's quiet guidance. Their rhythm was effortless now, a dance of shared tasks, but the weight of recent days hung between them, unspoken. "Two specials, one gluten-free," Eli called, plating a dish with quick efficiency. Jamie slid a bowl of salad across the pass, their fingers brushing briefly as they exchanged tools. The contact was fleeting, but Eli felt it linger, a spark he pushed aside to focus on the sizzling pan. A supplier, Carl, entered, his clipboard tucked under his arm. He leaned against the counter, eyeing Jamie. "Heard talk, Eli," he said, voice low but pointed. "Folks say your new hire's stirring trouble. Keep things professional, or we might need to reconsider our deliveries." Eli's spatula froze mid-turn. He stepped closer, voice steady but edged. "My kitchen runs fine. You deliver, I pay. That's the deal." Carl shrugged, leaving the invoice, but his warning lingered like smoke. Jamie kept chopping, his knife steady, but Eli saw the tension in his grip. The rush slowed, leaving the diner half empty. Jamie cleaned the cutting board, his movements deliberate. "They're talking about me, aren't they?" he asked, not looking up. "Let them talk." Eli said, scrubbing a pan. Doesn't change your work. Jamie set the knife down. It changes how they see you. I don't want to cost you this place. Eli paused, the weight of Jamie's words hitting hard. You're not costing me anything, he said, softer. This diner's mine. They don't get to decide who stays. Jamie nodded, but his eyes held doubt. They worked in silence, the clink of dishes and the hum of the fridge filling the gap. Eli taught Jamie to balance a marinade. Vinegar for bite, honey for depth, watching as he stirred with care, the sauce gleaming under the light. The door swung open, and a woman stepped in, her posture rigid, eyes locked on Jamie. Eli tensed, recognizing the sharp line of her jaw from Jamie's stories. James, she said, voice cold. We need you home. This phase of yours isn't right. Jamie's hand stilled on the spoon, his breath catching. Eli stepped forward, placing himself between them. He's not going anywhere, he said, voice firm. He's not broken, and he doesn't need fixing. The woman's gaze flicked to Eli, sharp with judgment. You're encouraging this? You'll ruin him. Her words were a blade, but Eli didn't flinch. He's my cook, Eli said. And he's staying. The diner fell quiet, customers watching, their forks paused. Jamie's mother turned, her steps heavy as she left, the door slamming behind her. Jamie exhaled, his hands trembling slightly. You didn't have to do that, he said, voice low. Eli met his gaze. Yeah, I did. The words carried a truth he hadn't planned to admit, exposing his own defiance to the town's scrutiny. He'd hidden for years, but standing up for Jamie felt like claiming something back. They resumed work, but the air felt denser, charged with the day's confrontation. As closing neared, Eli noticed fewer customers, the gossip taking its toll. He locked the front door, then turned to Jamie, who was wiping down the grill. You're still here, Eli said, half question, half statement. Got nowhere else to be, Jamie replied, setting the rag aside. Besides, I like this. The work. You. Eli's chest tightened at the last word, but he busied himself with the stove, checking a pot of broth. Taste this, he said, handing Jamie a spoon to shift the moment. Jamie sipped, his brow furrowing. Needs time, he said. Just a pinch. Eli nodded, handing him the herb. Jamie sprinkled it, stirring slowly, the broth's warmth curling between them. Their shoulders brushed as they leaned over the pot, the closeness unintentional but heavy. Neither pulled away. You stood up for me, Jamie said after a moment. That's going to cost you. The town's already talking. Eli stirred the broth, avoiding Jamie's eyes. Let them. I'm done hiding. The admission slipped out, raw and unguarded. He'd spent years burying his truth to keep the diner safe, but Jamie's presence made silence feel like surrender. Jamie set the spoon down. Back home, I thought hiding would save me. It didn't. Just made me smaller. He paused, then added, You're not small, Eli. The words landed softly, but they burned. Eli looked at him, caught by the quiet strength in Jamie's voice. Before he could respond, the phone rang. Carl's voice crackled through. We're pulling deliveries, Eli. Customers don't like the rumors. Nothing personal. Eli's grip tightened on the receiver. You'll regret that, he said, hanging up. He turned to Jamie, who'd overheard, his expression a mix of guilt and resolve. This is my fault, Jamie said, stepping back. I can leave. No, Eli said, sharper than intended. You stay? We figure this out. He grabbed a notepad, jotting down new suppliers, his hand steady despite the anger coiling inside him. Jamie watched, then picked up a cloth, cleaning the counter again, his presence a quiet anchor. They finished closing, the broth still simmering, its scent sharp with time. Eli turned off the stove, the flame's absence leaving a hush. Tomorrow's gonna be harder, he said, meeting Jamie's gaze. Then we'll handle it, Jamie replied, his voice steady, a promise woven into the words. He slung his backpack over his shoulder and stepped into the night, leaving Eli with the cooling pot and a resolve that felt new, fragile, but unbroken. The diner hummed softly under the weight of a quieter morning, the usual bustle dampened by empty tables. Eli, 35, stirred a pot of chili, the smoky heat rising as he adjusted the flame. Jamie, 24, sliced jalapenos at the prep station, his knife moving with a precision honed over weeks. The air carried the sharp bite of peppers and the faint buzz of a radio in the background, but the absence of customers spoke louder. Eli felt the town's judgment in every empty seat, a fallout from his stand against Carl and Jamie's mother. Add those slow, Eli said, nodding at the jalapenos. Too much, and it bites back. Jamie sprinkled them into the pot, his hands steady. "Learned that the hard way," he said, a faint grin breaking through. Their eyes met briefly, a shared understanding cutting through the morning's tension. They'd built something here, not just a dish but a fragile trust, tested by whispers and lost deliveries. The door chimed, and a group of regulars entered, their smiles warm, deliberate. "Heard what you did," one said, clapping Eli's shoulder. "Takes guts. We're here." Eli nodded, a knot loosening in his chest. More customers trickled in, locals who'd chosen loyalty over gossip. The diner began to fill, plates clattering, voices rising. Eli and Jamie moved through the rush, their rhythm a quiet defiance. Jamie plated a chili bowl, his hands quick but careful, while Eli grilled chicken, the sizzle a steady pulse. Their shoulders brushed as they passed a ladle, the contact brief but grounding. Eli didn't pull away, letting the moment anchor him. Mid-service, Eli's phone buzzed. A local reporter's email flashed on the screen. "Want to share your story?" "Diner's making waves." Eli hesitated, then showed it to Jamie. "They're calling it a stand," he said, voice low. "You think it's worth telling?" Jamie set down a spatula. "You showed the town who you are. That's worth something." His words were simple, but they carried a weight Eli felt deep in his bones. He typed a reply, agreeing to the interview, his fingers trembling slightly. As the day wound down, Eli found a post online. Mark's words, venomous and sharp, claiming Eli stole recipes and ran a shady diner. The lies stung, but comments below rallied back, locals flooding the thread with praise for Eli's food, Jamie's warmth. Eli showed Jamie, who read in silence, then said, "He's loud because he's losing." Eli nodded, deleting the post from his screen. "Let's make something new," he said, pulling out smoked paprika and garlic. They crafted a chili unlike any before, layering flavors, bright cumin, deep ancho, a hint of lime. Jamie stirred, tasting, adjusting, while Eli watched, struck by his quiet focus. "Taste it," Jamie said, offering a spoon. Eli took a sip, the warmth spreading, balanced, alive. "It's good," he said. "Not finished, but good." "Like us," Jamie replied, his voice soft but certain. Eli didn't respond, but the truth of it settled between them, unspoken. That evening, the reporter arrived, notepad in hand. Eli spoke plainly, no embellishments, about building the diner, standing up for Jamie, choosing truth over fear. Jamie listened from the prep station, his knife still, pride flickering in his eyes. The story ran the next day, drawing a crowd. New faces, curious, supportive. The diner thrived, not just surviving but growing, its tables full again. After closing, Eli and Jamie stayed, perfecting the chili. The pot simmered low, its heat a quiet promise. "You didn't have to fight for me," Jamie said, wiping down the counter. "But you did." Eli set down his spoon. "Wasn't just for you. I needed to fight for me too." The admission felt like shedding a weight he'd carried too long. He'd hidden to protect the diner, but openness had saved it. Jamie nodded, stacking plates. "When I came here, I thought I'd just pass through. Now I want to stay." His voice held no plea, only clarity, and Eli felt it like a spark catching flame. "You're staying," Eli said, the words a decision, not a question. He handed Jamie a bowl of the new chili, their fingers brushing as the dish passed between them. They ate in silence, the flavors sharp and full, a testament to their shared work. The radio played softly, a song about second chances. Outside, the town settled into dusk, its streets calm, forgiving. Eli turned off the stove, the flame fading with a soft click. "Tomorrow's another day," he said, meeting Jamie's gaze. "Then we'll make it better," Jamie replied, his voice steady, a vow woven into the quiet. They locked up together, stepping into the cool night, the diner's warmth lingering behind them. The article's headline echoed in Eli's mind. "Local chef defies odds, builds community." It wasn't the whole story, but it was enough. Eli glanced at Jamie, who walked beside him, head high. No promises were spoken, no lines crossed, just a shared path, carved through courage and chili. The town's lights flickered, and for the first time, Eli felt the future wasn't something to fear, but something to cook for.